Genghis Khan, From Exile to Empire. In the heart of Asia, where the sky meets the endless grass, a storm was brewing, not of nature, but of man. He was born Temujin, a boy of noble lineage, destined for power. But by the age of 10, he was in exile, a starving refugee hunting marmots to survive. His kingdom was gone, his family abandoned. Yet from this desolate, savage beginning, he would rise. He did not inherit an empire, he built one. A military machine so terrifying, so ruthlessly efficient, that it conquered more land than the Romans, the Babylonians, and the Egyptians combined. His name became a whisper of dread from the Pacific to the gates of Vienna. He was a tyrant to his enemies, a divine liberator to his people. His legacy is etched in blood and gold. He was the founder of the world's largest contiguous empire. But who was the man beneath the legend? How did a homeless orphan forge the Mongol nation? This is the story of Temujin. This is the story of Genghis Khan.
Temujin was born around 1162 AD on the banks of the Onon River. His father, Yesugai, was a minor chieftain, a Borijin, or man of the wolves. Temujin's birth came with a powerful omen. He was clutching a blood clot in his hand, a sign of a destiny involving war. The nomadic tribes of the steppe lived by a brutal code: loyalty and blood, survival and revenge. But when Temujin was 9, this brutal world shattered his life. His father was ambushed and poisoned by rivals from the Tatar tribe. Yesugai's death left his family unprotected. Following the ruthless laws of the steppe, his clan, the Taichiutes, abandoned the widow Halen and her 7 children. They took the family's livestock and left them for dead. The future Khan was now a beggar. For the next 8 years, the family survived in abject poverty, scavenging for food, roots, mice, fish. Temujin learned the single most important lesson of his life: loyalty is everything, and betrayal is met with absolute destruction. The pressure was unbearable. When his older half-brother, Bektur, began hoarding the meager hunting spoils, Temujin committed his first terrible act of calculated violence. He, with his younger brother Kasar, hunted down Bektur and killed him. It was a fratricide born of necessity, not malice. It established him as the undisputed leader of his family. But the ruthless Taichiutes were still hunting him. He was eventually captured and held in a wooden collar, a kang. Humiliation, bondage. But Temujin was never destined to be a victim. He used the kang as a weapon, smashing the guard's head, and escaped under the cover of a massive tribal festival. Forging the alliance. Freed from his enemies, Temujin focused on one thing: alliances. He sought out the men who still respected his father's name. First, his Anda, his blood brother, Jamuka, a charismatic and powerful chieftain. Together, they vowed eternal loyalty. He married Berte, a woman who would become his lifelong companion and chief counsel. But this small step toward stability quickly devolved into disaster. The Merkit tribe, centuries-old enemies of his clan, rode in and kidnapped Berte in a raid. Temujin was consumed by rage, shame, and a searing need for revenge. He turned to his alliances. He joined forces with Jamuka and, crucially, with Togrul Khan, the leader of the powerful Kerate tribe, a man known as the Ong Khan. The counterattack was brutal. A force of 20,000 men descended upon the Merkit camp. They didn't just win the battle, they systematically annihilated the tribe, scattering them into the wind. This was Temujin's first demonstration of absolute, vengeful power. Berte was recovered, holding a child she had conceived while captive. Temujin accepted the boy,
Jochi as his own, a profound act of political and personal strength that prevented a clan split. But success bred a deeper rift with his blood brother. Jamuka believed in the old ways, a loose confederation of tribes governed by noble birth. Temujin believed in meritocracy. Loyalty and ability, not blood, should define power. Their philosophies clashed, their alliance shattered. Unifying the tribes. From 1190 to 1206, the steppe became a chessboard where Temujin moved with the cold, strategic precision of a true genius. He fought a war of annihilation against his own people, the Taichutes, the Tartars, and finally his old friend Jamuka. He introduced terrifying new rules of warfare. When he defeated the Taichutes, he executed every leader but spared the low-ranking soldiers, integrating them directly into his army. He broke the clan structure. Soldiers now owed loyalty only to him, not to their tribe. The war against Jamuka was the most personal. They met at the Battle of the 13 Sides. Temujin was outnumbered, but his organizational genius and absolute discipline crushed Jamuka's larger but less unified army. Jamuka was betrayed by his own followers and captured. He requested a noble death. Temujin, true to their Anda oath, granted it. Jamuka was executed without spilling his blood. His back was broken, and buried with the honors of a noble chief. With Jamuka gone and the other tribes scattered or absorbed, the steppe was quiet. For the first time in centuries, the warring, chaotic tribes of Mongolia were united. The foundation was set. In 1206, a grand heraldtai, or council, was convened. The tribal elders officially proclaimed Temujin by his new title, Genghis Khan, meaning universal ruler.
The March West. Genghis Khan now commanded the Mongol nation, but peace was not the Mongol way. The vast army he had built needed to be fed, supplied, and kept busy. His eyes turned outward. First, to the established, powerful states of China. The attacks on the Tangut and Jin dynasties were testing grounds. They taught the Mongols how to defeat walled cities using captured Chinese engineers and siege weapons. But the true goal lay further west, the powerful Khwarezmian Empire, modern-day Iran and Central Asia. The Khwarezmian Shah, Muhammad II, ruled an empire richer and larger than any Genghis had faced. The Khan sought trade, not war. He sent a caravan of 450 merchants and diplomats seeking a peaceful trade agreement. But the governor of Otrar, Inalchuk, accused the envoys of spying, seized their goods, and had them executed. When Genghis Khan demanded justice, the Shah sent back the head of the Mongol diplomat. It was a fatal mistake. Genghis Khan called it the God's Scourge. He unleashed 200,000 warriors in 1219. The Mongols introduced a new concept to the world, psychological warfare. They would annihilate one city, leave a few terrified survivors, and those survivors would spread the panic to the next city. Cities like Samarkand, Bukhara, and Urgench, centers of Islamic civilization, were reduced to dust. The siege of Urgench lasted 7 months. When the walls fell, the city was systematically destroyed. Scholars estimate the campaign reduced the entire population of Khwarezmia by up to 3/4. 2 of his best generals, Jebe and Subutai, continued the pursuit, sweeping through Persia, Armenia, and Georgia, even defeating Russian forces at the Battle of the Kalka River, an almost mythological reconnaissance mission that shocked Europe. The final laws. Genghis Khan returned to Mongolia in 1225. He had conquered millions of square miles, but his final years were devoted not to war, but to governance. He recognized that conquest was easy, ruling was hard. He created the Yasa, a secret, unwritten, but universally obeyed law code. It covered everything from tax laws to judicial procedures to mandatory military service. It established the principle of religious tolerance and protected trade routes.
He established the YAM, the first international postal service, a relay system of stations that allowed military and political messages to travel across the entire empire at breathtaking speed. Information was the true power. In 1227, Genghis Khan died while campaigning against the Tanguts, the very first people he had challenged. The cause of his death is unknown: a fall from a horse, illness, or battle wounds. He was in his early 60s. His final instruction was for his burial to be kept a complete secret. His body was taken back to Mongolia by an honor guard. Legend says that anyone who saw the procession, whether man, woman, or animal, was killed to protect the secret location. The legacy. Genghis Khan left behind the largest land empire in history. Its immediate legacy was destruction on an unimaginable scale, causing demographic shifts that lasted for centuries. But the longer legacy is complex. His conquests initiated the Pax Mongolica, a century of peace across the vast empire. The Silk Road flourished like never before. Trade, knowledge, technology, and diseases like the Black Death flowed freely from east to west. His grandson, Kublai Khan, would found the Yuan dynasty, ruling all of China. His descendants would rule Russia for 250 years, and one, Babur, would found the Mughal Empire in India. The bloodline of Genghis Khan is everywhere. The historical memory of Genghis Khan is defined by the perspective. To the Persians and Russians, he was the devil incarnate. To the Mongols, he is the founding father, the divine unifier, the man who brought order to chaos. He was a man who understood the fundamental truth of power. To command loyalty, you must command fear. Genghis Khan, the orphan who became the universal ruler, left a scar on the world that remains the biggest empire ever forged by a single man.